Hello, 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 and welcome to Reality NSFW Rewind, Professor Tim Watches Survivor Africa. We are here at a new scheduled time, so I'm not sure. I hope that we do have a few people in the chat, so some people have found us, but if you were not able to join us live, I hope that you will find us later on YouTube. Although, why am I telling you if you're listening, then you already have found us? All right, we're 30 seconds in, and I'm already not making any sense. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Professor Tim Wilson. Tim, what's going on in your world?
Well, I've just we've just emerged from Christmas, and we're about to go into the new year and out of Europe, which is all very exciting, all very entertaining, a little bit scary. I'm not sure which is the scariest. I think probably the decorations on my Christmas tree came off miraculously in the intervening period between yesterday and today. I think they just fell off. It's a bit disturbing. So now I've got a naked tree, but we're going to plant it out in the garden. And then I'm afraid my cats are really old and struggling to keep up. But I think we might get another 2 or 3 months out of the oldest one. And then I think she might go under the Christmas tree. So that's the plan.
What a way to start!
I feel it's a little bit. I feel it's a little bit sort of Dickensian, like sort of keeping a coffin in the living room and saying, "That's your eventual home, memento mori." But I just think it's yes. It's not the most. It's not the most positive way to start. I am so sorry.
It's good to plan ahead. So you already heard her, but we are joined once again by our favorite busted can of biscuits, Elaine Stott from Idol of the Island. And I am wearing your T-shirt, Elaine, but it's just under my hoodie because it's cold here. But we've got like a tradition here. You've always done our second episode of each season, and then you got bumped because Nick Iadanza really wanted to talk about Jesse Camacho. But we've still got you here, and we are very excited.
I totally understand. I'd probably bump me too. So
I would never bump you, Elaine.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
you are always wanted. In fact, I would have you every episode if I had the opportunity.
Well, our talks tend to run a little long, though. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll trim it this time. I'll think of the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
No, but back to just what you're saying about. So I didn't realize. So your Christmas tree in your salon or wherever you are. So that is actually in a pot right now. That is alive.
Oh, it is absolutely. It's regularly watered, and it's in a little earthen pot, and it will eventually go out into the garden. It's not quite a traditional Christmas tree. It's sort of a decent evergreen tree. So it takes us back to the sort of tradition that during the winter you would bring in something living to try and raise your hopes during the dark days of snow and misery and Brexit, and that seems highly appropriate at the moment. So we brought
that's 2020 summed up in a tree, right?
Isn't it just? Yeah, and then gathering around the tree and chant COVID, 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 and hope it goes away. So.
I know that there's a thing with, so you've got this tree and you're all ready for the cat. But so I've also heard that there's a thing now where you can actually get these biodegradable coffins that will then actually, I think, and I guess there's seeds or something in it. So you will actually then grow your own tree, like you will put your own marker.
I think that level of agricultural afterlife is not something I particularly want to imagine. But I have been to events. Let's be euphemistic. I have been to events where these things have been employed in sort of wicker coffins, and you hear every creak, and you think this is very disturbing.
So you're at the funeral and you're worried that whether the coffin's going to actually make it through the service.
Well, yes. It might sort of. It might disintegrate before you even get it out into the real world. But yes, have I set a particularly dark tone for today's?
We've gotten off track. Yes,
we have got. We're thinking of future events.
Off-track is our middle name around here, Elaine.
Or you're thinking of lack thereof of future events. You're talking
Oh.
about death.
Yeah, come on. It's
Well, it's one of those major events that probably is quite an interesting adventure. I've never done it before.
I would hope not, but yeah. Dude, I don't know how this got to where we're at. It's like every time.
I do think it's quite relevant. I must put my cards firmly on the table. I've got serious problems with this series. So moral problems.
Okay.
And the biggest one. Can I say this? No, Elaine, we haven't really introduced you yet. So let's introduce Elaine first, because I haven't really. I'm going to take over.
Dude, it's your show. You just run with it. I listen.
Oh, it's not really my show. It's Karen's show. I'm just an interloper with a beard. I feel at the moment I practically come down the chimney for the season.
Yeah.
This is your third appearance on the show, Elaine. Were you actually under? I understand the first time you were under the impression that you were coming on basically to talk about Survivor, but by now you should know that we talk about other stuff too. Yeah. And then we get to Survivor.
I didn't expect the death talk to be so soon. You know what I mean?
Or so mirthful. Mirthful. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense. Come on, we're in the middle of the winter. It's cold as heck here. Everything's gray, and then we're dealing with COVID. And then on top of that, like I said, with Tim, at least now, you've got some hope, but with Brexit and everything, they didn't even know what was going to go on with that. So yeah, it's a dark time, which is why we try to come out and give people some entertainment.
I don't think Brexit is particularly entertainment, but unless you're a bureaucrat, in which case you're having a whale of a time.
I'm saying this is entertainment, distract from all the shit that's going on in the world, which is not great.
Right. Yeah,
not great.
That's true.
The shit that's going on in the world. We could go down a little alley into coprofage, but I don't. Anyway.
So you were saying, Tim, so what are your?
Actually, I am. My cat is so old now, and so close to death that. But she's so defiant. She's so determined to carry on, and she's sort of perked up, and her whole personality has come back. But she does need help going to the loo, which is quite a process. So I am learning a great deal about the nether functions of a cat.
I have to give it to you, because not a lot of people are like that when it comes to people, let alone animals. They're
really
not that caring. A lot of people are kind of cold when it comes to things like that. Me, I'm just like you. I would do whatever it took.
You just dig in and
that's because to me,
keep going.
my animals are my people, So I sometimes treat my animals better than I do other individuals. So
no! How are the other individuals in your life, Elaine?
Everybody's good, man.
Really?
Yeah, I'm kind of reduced down to my bedroom.
Oh my goodness!
Podcast and stuff. Yeah.
I was thinking, was that your bed, or was it a particularly interesting tablecloth?
No, it's the bed. I got the oldest boy come in for the holidays, so he took the room I typically shoot podcast in, and then it's too cold to be outside. I can't be in the kitchen because the wife is babysitting, so it's like I'm sent to my room.
How is she?
She's doing good. She just changed jobs. She's still at the same place, but now she's got an office job, and she's learning the ropes. It's pretty stressful for her right now, but
poor thing. Give her a hug from me.
I think she's gonna like it a lot better, because she won't be on the floor in the factory anymore and doing the hard labor. You know what I mean? So it'll be a lot better for her.
I've worked in factories as well.
I didn't know that. Tell us about your factory experience.
What kind?
Well, I was a disaster, but in every factory I went into, I was a disaster at some point. But it sort of furnishes me with entertaining factory stories, which I think you don't expect. But I think the first factory I worked in was a pea factory, and oddly, it was owned by the grandfather of one of my best friends. But I didn't know this, and nor did he. And I saw photographs of his grandfather in the office, and I thought, oh, I know this man. But my particular job, I was pursued by a girl at one point who sent me little notes to the boy in brown. Everybody was in brown. I mean, that was the color we were wearing.
Did you show up in a red 3-piece suit, or did you have to wear a uniform?
I was 17 or 18 at the time, so yes, the answer, yes, I think probably I did. But I then had to wear a uniform, so I had to discard the sort of day dress and put on this strange costume. And then initially I was involved in some sort of pallet loading thing, which I found very stressful. And then they put me off, put me into a job very close to the beginning of the production, where the peas came in overnight, and then they went into a shoot with great rapidity and endlessly. And my job was to clean around the shoot, and then every so often sort of squeeze this sort of liquid into the shoot to stop it foaming up.
Huh.
Okay. And this was the beginning of the whole process in a sort of a la Ford.
Liz, for some reason, when you talk about the factory and you, I just picture Lucille Ball.
Yes, I think Lucille Ball.
I picture that for you for some reason. Like I just see it. I
think it's very appropriate.
His mouth to try to keep up.
Yeah.
Yep. I was trying desperately to keep up, and and at the same time manage the boredom of it. But so this was sort of slightly too interesting to be boring. Slightly too distracting, and everything was a bit novel. Anyway, on one occasion, I squeezed in this liquid, turned my back, and suddenly there was this sort of bombardment of peas in all directions, and I thought, what had happened? And what had happened was the top of my squeezy bottle had come off and had gone into the chute and actually blocked the chute. So I stopped production for at least a day.
Yeah.
And I had two names. So this girl who liked me called me the boy in brown. Everybody else called me Vicar. And I don't know why. As an Anglican priest. I was completely inappropriate. Oh, Vicar. And do you mean me?
Were you a religion student at that point? Like, I'm trying to figure out.
No, I was still at school. Why they thought I was Vicar? I suppose because I have a slightly plummy accent, and it's so nice. I go, dearly beloved. And anyway, I thought I was going to get fired on the spot. I wasn't. I was moved to yet another job. I forget what that was. I think I was moved to a job in the freezing department, so I was very cold all the time.
Well, what it was is when you work in a factory, you have it takes a certain individual to be able to work in a factory.
Yes, well, I like it. You see, this is the point, Elaine.
But what it is when you get certain employees, you have to move them around to find their niche, so to speak.
Yeah,
not everybody can do every job.
Absolutely, and I can't do very many jobs. I mean, I am.
Yeah. So you got moved around a lot. You got moved around a lot, is what you're saying.
But I'll tell you where I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed working in the post office, in one of the big London post offices when they existed. And I was cleaning floors, and that was wonderful. It was so sort of therapeutic. It was like meditation. And another one I really enjoyed was a factory. Much later, when I was teaching in London, and during the nights I would go off and moonlight and work on this factory because I don't need very much sleep. And I made lavatory seats, or as they called it in the factory, toilet seats.
Yeah.
And I find it so exciting in America. So in Britain, if we say there are people who say I'm going to the toilet, this would be unimaginable in America. I am quite pleased about this. Be unimaginable in America because if you are in the toilet in Britain, you are in the bathroom in America. If you're in the toilet in America, I think you're actually somehow stuck in the plumbing. Am I right?
I don't know.
We don't call the room the toilet. I mean, I certainly understand if you said that, but yeah, that's not something we say.
But I bathroom I do think is rather ridiculous.
Or if you're country, you call it the shitter. I don't know.
I don't mind that. Call a spade a spade. Why not be descriptive about it? I would refer to the loo. Or the John, but I would probably never use the bathroom. But it's
on the signs in the UK. They call it water closet, right? Didn't all?
Well, that's an architectural description, and the WC turns into the toilet
water
because of
closet?
Yeah,
water closet.
Dude, I would never be able to go to the bathroom because I wouldn't know what the hell that was.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like I said, when I first went to the UK, that's the thing. There's like 5 or 10 things you need to know, like knowing that a jumper is a sweater, and the bathroom.
Oh, is that different? I didn't realize that.
Yes, no. In America, a jumper is a dress that you like put a blouse underneath, like it's a sleeveless dress.
No,
put something underneath.
No, I've got some very nice jumpers. I didn't realize they were sleeveless dresses.
And Elaine's just like,
I'm like, what? I never heard some of that. A water. Seriously, I've never heard of a water closet before.
Right. No. Well, the word toilet. So toilet was the toilette, as in the place where you wash yourself, in French. Yeah. And when we first had trains, we had 2 little rooms at the end of the compartment. One was the toilet, and one was the WC. And then the train companies decided they could make more money by shoving the 2 together, and they branded WC and they branded toilet on the whole thing. And hence toilet becomes the generic term for the room with the thing in, plus a little place for you to wash. But originally there were two little rooms, as there were in my house when I was a child. We had the bathroom with the bath and the sink in it, and then we had the other room, the loo, with just this sort of
the country you
have a hole. No,
it's an outhouse.
No. When I was a child in the farm, we didn't have plumbing inside. We had a little house. Yeah. And there was no light. It was terribly exciting. So in the at night we had to make do with potties under the bed, which was charming.
That makes, because I hate to just even get out of bed to go to the bathroom, and I can't even imagine if you had to like put on your shoes and go outside.
No, just go under the bed and retrieve the potty. It can be a little bit high in the morning if it's a long night and a heavy content. That's
interesting.
And as a small boy, I was delighted all these things vanished miraculously during the day. But that was what other people did. I was too small to deal with these things, but I did provide the contents.
No, but the thing about having a toilet in a separate room from the rest of the bathroom, that's also something that they do. I think it's a European thing. They do the same thing in Israel. And it actually does make things easier, because that way, like if somebody's using the toilet, somebody else can be like doing their makeup or their hair or whatever. You don't have to lock people out of the whole thing.
Absolutely. And there are also rabbinic issues about closing doors and stuff. There are things you can't do in the sight of the little object. Now, what I was going to say does have bearing on my concerns about the season.
Okay,
bring it back for us. There you go.
Yeah. So, what are your concerns other than the fact that there's a bunch of lions surrounding?
No, that's not my concern. I don't mind the lions. I've grown up with pussycats. It's just a matter of size. And
as a lesbian, I have too. I'm just saying.
There we are. And
I thought that was appropriate. I was just
it's all
right. NSFW, everything is appropriate here.
Always appropriate. We're only just this side of music hall, so it's,
okay, I didn't mean to get you off track.
Do you know the song "Daddy Wouldn't Buy Me a Bow Wow"?
No,
you don't. Oh, you have to look it up because it's very innocuous in its original form. Daddy wouldn't buy me a bow wow. I've got a little cat and I'm very fond of that, but I'd rather have a bow wow wow. Well, this girl who sang this made it sound completely obscene, and somehow or other in late Victorian England, it got through the censors, and it was just filthy.
I have to look that up.
It's not really the lyrics, but just the performance was kind of. You're saying, so the lyrics were not.
She tended to sing this song with a little sort of stuffed cat, but by the end of the song, there was no doubt about what she meant, and.
Yeah, I'm sure that for Victorian England, that's a big deal.
No, but there are lots of these innuendo. There's the whole of that sort of form of theatre was riddled with with suggestiveness, innuendo, in your face. But anyway, to get to something vaguely more serious. Oh, and I've got a plumbing problem at the moment. That's not innuendo or euphemism. It's not sort of intimate euphemism. I really do have a plumbing problem, and I haven't had hot water for days. It sort of aims to be hot, so I can have a shower for about 30 seconds, and then it becomes freezingly cold, and I have to retreat.
That would suck.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, no plumbers seem remotely interested. Anyway. So this is a literal water problem. But to go back to the issue, the issue is water, and I see this. I see the African episode, and I think water aid, and how many people die because their water is not good enough, and because their water is infected, because animals are drinking from it, and so on, or other things. And I think here we are. We've made this into sort of trivial entertainment, and millions of people are dying. And I know that 9/11 occurred during the transmission of this program, but that seems to be the focus of the ouch issue. The ouch issue is already there. You're taking people to a continent where there is a major problem with sanitation, and you're making that into a game. And I just think this is insensitive in probably the biggest order that I can think of. I cannot think of a program which treads so leadenly over other people's sensitivities. And I would hope that when it was transmitted, there were adverts for water aid in every break, but I have a suspicion that probably there weren't.
Well, didn't they go over there and actually do some of that kind of work? But I know they donated to like the orphanages and stuff. But
they always do that. We will see that.
But there's no end to how much they can do. Here they've got a program which actually, in the same way as The Circle was a program that made comedy and entertainment out of something which is one of the most pernicious aspects of modern media. That is that you never really know who you're talking to, and there's an opportunity for fraud and for serious serious deceit. I think that highlighted the issue, and
I was going to say, I think that's actually a positive thing, I think, because when people can catfish successfully, it reminds you that, hey, all these people you talk to on the internet may not.
You don't know who they are.
Right. I think that's actually a positive thing that they're
showing. And it also highlighted issues of bullying, though I wasn't. I was forbidden from talking about bullying. I wanted to, because both Paddy and myself realized we both had experience of this, and I thought, this is a great issue for today, and a great issue for the target audience, but we weren't allowed to discuss that on camera. But so those issues and those things, I thought, that makes this sort of nonsense seem justifiable, because I think there's nothing greater than entertainment to raise important issues. But water aid, this is more people die of water problems in Africa than I think have died in major conflicts. And
I know that it's a big issue,
and it's ongoing. It's ongoing, and I just think. We're very. This is very worrying. That this isn't sort of right at the heart of the program. And it could be. It could so easily be. And instead, what's at the heart of the program is trivial games and running around with fiberglass rocks.
Not really in defense, but I do want to say that whenever they travel to these different places in different countries. Like, okay, when they go to Fiji, they actually they pay the tribes. They go to the chief. They pay the tribes. The people that work, like drive the boats, and stuff like that. They're actually the people from that country. So they bring revenue when they bring the show. So
Yeah. And I think also that they pay, you know, like American minimum wage, like they don't have to legally because they're in wherever, but I think that's something that they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like I said, and then they always have this thing where they will go to an orphanage or whatever. So yeah, from their standpoint, I feel like they feel like they're helping.
No, so I don't know if I just imagined this in my head, but wasn't there something where they actually done something? Maybe it was some of the survivors that had played before, but there was something where somebody went and they were actually building water purification systems and stuff like that. I don't know if that was actual people that had played Survivor or if it was people that run Survivor. I can't.
Well, it would be very good if they have, but it should be built into the program so that we can see it.
Yeah,
because it's not good enough just simply to say, oh, actually, we made a donation to charity in order to trivialize somebody's misery.
Yeah.
It has to be built into the show. And Sam is saying the target audience of Survivor is families and youth. So these are exactly this is exactly the target audience that we need to be informing about these things. And and the water problems are ongoing.
Yeah.
You know, if we brought programs like Survivor to Africa, we would hope that this would have a significant effect on the problem, but it doesn't seem to have had a major effect. It's a minor effect, box ticking. But I just felt I'm feeling deeply uncomfortable watching entertainment which is based on because this entertainment is based on the fact that the water isn't clean. And that we can play a game to get clean water. I found this just very, very disturbing.
Right.
You know, thinking of my other life as a theology professor. You know, theology has descended from the days when you looked at literary texts, and now it's all sort of ethics. Ethics, I always think in England is a sort of county somewhere in the south of England. But actually, it's a you know, ethics is we're sort of analysing how religion and morality affects ordinary people, and I think it doesn't affect Survivor very much, which disturbs me. It's a money-making machine, and and the fact that 9/11, fact that 9/11 occurs in the middle of this, I think just emphasises the fact that the real world is not far away from this world of fantasy.
It was actually, so they filmed this before 9/11, but 9/11 happened, I want to say, like a week before the season was supposed to start.
Oh, it happened before, not during the season.
Yeah.
Right.
And so in terms of, and we'll see, I guess maybe we haven't seen so much of this yet. I think we'll see more of it. That certainly people are very aware that, you know, of the plight, you know, of people who live in Africa, and you see kind of the way that they live. And like I said, we'll see more of that later. And like you said, it's, you call it, you know, tick box, you know, checking the box or whatever. I mean, I guess I'm a little bit less cynical than that, but because again, the difference is let's say they shouldn't be doing Survivor, you know, in Africa because of all the issues, then, you know, then they will go film somewhere else. And then the jobs that you're doing, you know, that you're bringing are not going to go to Africa.
Yeah, I don't think he's saying don't do them. He's like, yo, if you're going to go, then make a big, huge impact. Like, don't just go there, do your business and leave, like help out. Like,
right. And
I think that's what Tim's trying to say, right?
And they do some of that, but like you said, but not on a large scale as far as I'm aware.
No, they do bare minimum. Bare minimum is what they're getting by with is kind of what Tim's saying, right? It's like,
it seems to me to be an opportunity to do something, and that opportunity is being missed. With sort of
dude, that's life. That's everyday life. Like I see so many
yes and no. Yes and no. Look, you've got to.
I think the problem is that we've lost ourselves as a human race. We've lost ourselves as far as our compassion and kindness goes, and it's kind of fell to the wayside.
Elaine, every time I meet you, I realize this is not true. This is not true. You have it in buckets. And
I do. I think there's those of us that do. There's those of us out there, but I think we are the lesser.
Everybody does. It's just a matter of finding our potential. Look, I think to clarify, it's about two things. What is entertainment for? What is television for? In a sense, on the one hand, you've got the idea of it informing. I think that's a minor role that television plays, though the BBC would see it as its major role, and I think the BBC is fundamentally wrong. It's about entertainment. Now, once you've got entertainment, you've got, and a lot of actors think that acting is all about informing. Acting is about entertainment, and if you forget that, then you sort of lost yourself.
Right.
You know, Hugh Grant and people understand this. It's entertainment. There may be a deeper thing that you can find in it, which is great. So once you've got that, then you've got the question of what do you do with your entertainment? Is there an opportunity? So here there is an opportunity, but I find it very, very disturbing that you're turning something which is a real world crisis into an entertainment. Now, you might be making an entertainment show at the same time as a real world crisis, and I would say, good on you. That's great. We can't be miserable all the time if there's a real world crisis going on, because we need to lift spirits. At the time when we need a clown, you know, that is a time when the world is falling to its knees. You know, when did Charlie Chaplin become a great star? It was actually during the end of the First World War and during the Depression, when the world was falling to its knees. It needed that uplift. It didn't need to be told constantly, the world is a miserable place. It needed that uplift. And he found a way, particularly in the Great Depression, to turn misery into humor, and at the same time to pull people's attention to the idea that, you know, people are very miserable. That I think is great entertainment. There is you can look at the musicals of the 1930s and 1940s. As we slide into World War, you get these completely trite musicals that give us a lift, and yet often so many of them are anchored in some sort of real world, and sometimes they're anchored in the world of the of the war, and you know, and that gives us a lift. What I find disturbing is you're transplanting people who live perfectly normal, comfortable, and in the case of Carl, rich lives into this world where they can make believe they are poor, and they can experience stuff which other people experience as their daily life, and I find that and this can be passed off as reality. I find that deeply uncomfortable, and interesting, but deeply uncomfortable. It would be wrong of me really to ignore that for too long. It wasn't so noticeable in the other two seasons. In this season, it is just in my face all the time. And even without the 9/11 event occurring at the time of transmission, this would still make me feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And if this season were aired today, it would make me feel uncomfortable because the situation hasn't changed. Yeah. It's like, you know, you don't make a board game. You don't make an entertainment out of literally out of somebody's disaster.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying, and I completely agree. I was just saying that I think there's a me kind of attitude that goes with. I don't want to say just Americans, because I think it's everywhere, but I think we've become a self-centered. It's more self-centered basis, than what you're saying. Like, to me, like, it would be like, yo, I would do what I could while I was there to help the people. You know.
Well, look. I can think of 3 or 4 survivor type shows which I could construct around world disasters. And I don't dare to say them because they are just. It is just so horrendous to even articulate. So I won't. But let me articulate something which is slightly less horrendous. You know, what about Prison? The reality TV show.
Oh yeah.
You know, that is not done. Why?
With
a very good reason.
They've done it. It's called 60 Days In.
Yeah, they
no.
Yes.
No, I just want to go and turn around and bury my head in a sandpit now. I think the world has gone to hell in a handbag.
They take volunteers to infiltrate the prison system and pretend like they're inmates to gain information.
Like Prison Cell Block H, or whatever. That wonderful show.
They drop in and they pretend like they're inmates, and then whatever info they figure out, they give it back to like the warden or whatever. It's supposed to be something on the basis of helping the system out, like with things they could do to get better, you know. But to me, when you watch it, all the stuff that the inmates are telling, or the pretend inmates are telling the warden, it's all shit they should be doing anyway, you know, like your COs need to do this, they need to do, you know, it's
yeah. And there have people, I feel like, who have left, I think, even within like a couple of days, because they're like, shit, we didn't realize like how rough it is in here.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's an horrific thing. The fact that we do this to people as punishment is disturbing. You know, we've had issues of prison reform on the cards for years.
Yeah.
You know, we've got that, and then the death penalty is another issue, which is just disturbing. You know, I hesitate to even mention
we're
it.
Diving into something totally we should not be talking about right now.
We started off talking about.
Elaine wants to talk about Survivor.
I feel like we're getting ready to go down the road of like you said, prison reform and politics. And listen, those are conversations that should be had by people that's at what's that called? Their pay grade. Like that's way above. That's way above my pay grade. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start, bro. With
these things impinge on all of us, and you know, the positive thing about Survivor is if it stimulates this sort of conversation about these big issues, then it's actually done its job very well. Right. So you know, anything that can provoke conversation and thought about things we take for granted.
To be fair, I think if you watch like, okay, my season compared to that season, it's day and night with the I don't know, the topics that are brought up and the things that are discussed. It's more like an open forum than it was just here's your show, here's this, that, and the other. I think it does bring real life stuff as far as the U.S. is concerned. I know it didn't in the African situation or whatever, but it has come a long way, even though it's not where we need to be. It still has come a long way with its interpretation of things. And
the other thing is, this particular episode seemed even more focused on money than anyone that's gone before it, but maybe because it was anticipating who was going to be blocked or who was going to be knocked off.
I think that's what this is about, is that this is the first time we're seeing this in Survivor, that somebody is very honest, right, about their lifestyle, and it was a result. Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Miss Elaine? Like, you know,
who knew that pulling out teeth would make you so rich? Sweeney Todd, eat your heart out.
But Elaine, what do you think about this? Would you vote somebody out just because, like, and this is an extreme example with Dr. Cow.
I would take them to the end. You don't vote them out. You take them to the end, and then you point at them and be like, "Yo, his bank account's huge. Why would you do this?" You know,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what you do. You take that sucker to the end.
Isn't it the flip side to that thing that we had in the last episode about who deserves to win?
Yeah.
These are very strange questions, which are tinged with a sort of holier than thou attitude, which equally makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Gosh, is this all going to be about moral me? It's like it's like in that thing with my mic thing, a little mini me is a moral me. Hello.
Yeah.
It's just a bearded glove puppet.
Well, I think the problem is that the way it's set up is like you turn to yourself on what you should do, right? You're like, so basically your moral compass is going to guide you. So when you get to the end of that game, and if you're sitting on the jury, you look at yourself and you're like, yo, who do I want to give this to? And the reasons are blah, blah, blah. And for each person, it's different. But to be like, yo, this person deserves or that person deserves, if you just go by the rules of the game in general, whoever gets to the end, they're deserving. Because it's a game to day 39. You know what I mean?
Don't you think that the thing really is, it doesn't matter what somebody does or how much money somebody's got. In the end, you like them or you don't like them, and then you use their peccadillos and sort of luck to justify your decision on whether or not you like or dislike them. I found there's a wonderful sort of I really must come to the States because so much of what you've got there I just feel I embrace. There's this fellow who and they made Tommy Tune made this wonderful musical about him, and he was all over media in the sort of late 20s, early up to the early 30s or something. And he came up with a wonderful line, "I've never met a man I didn't like," which I suppose would probably, there's a gender bias there, but we can ignore that. But I really don't think I've ever met anyone I didn't like. Not fundamentally. And it's sort of all about so many, and people who I don't like, it's because I haven't really met them, or they haven't allowed me to meet them properly, and they're sort of hidden behind some sort of wall of often bureaucracy. Or authority. I don't like bureaucracy. I don't like authority. I don't like people who want to lord it over me. And at those times, and they will say to me, "What's your name?" And I would say, "Professor Tim Wilson." and I'm supposed to let them know to show what their place is.
Yeah,
but
I should try that though, because I actually got hired. I was going to start teaching in law school, like as an adjunct, and then whatever. Then I got sick, and I had to let it go. But I wonder, if I can just like drop professor. Well, it's like people who use Esquire, right, as lawyers. Socially, I'm not a big fan of that.
Isn't Esquire what we put at the end of everybody's name if they're a man?
No, in the US, it means you're a lawyer.
No, in the UK, it's just polite.
Really?
If you don't know somebody's title, you do Tim Wilson, ESQRE.
Oh wow!
And,
okay.
Dude, I learned so much talking to the both of y'all because I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
I don't like the term miss. I find it really disturbing. It makes me feel as if somebody's lacking something. Don't you think?
And Elaine, I am just like so impressed that you can do stuff like, you wanted a bathroom for your wedding, like, so you built one.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I can't do anything practical at all.
Dude, that's just where there's a will, there's a way. I willed that thing into fruition, basically.
Yeah, I could will all I wanted. You want to see me in Home Depot? It's not pretty.
No, listen, if you're ever put in a situation where it's a do or die or flight or fight kind of thing, the nature, the instinct, the animalistic instinct to take care of yourself, it kicks in. You know what I'm saying? And I think you sell yourself short when it comes to those things.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people.
You're the person in charge. You're the person in charge of all the machinery here, Karen. You're the person who makes
No, but I do believe that people do sell themselves short when it comes to certain things, such as building or this, that, and the other. Yeah. And it's just, if you're ever put in a situation where it's do or die, I'm telling you, you're gonna do. And it's kind of like when I talk to you guys. I have no idea what the hell's going on. I don't know half the words y'all say, but I'm so like just listen.
Elaine,
I learn
project positivity and if I were on Survivor, I'd want you on my side every time.
I appreciate that. I wish you could have played with me because nobody else wanted me on their side.
You would be my buddy. I would see you through to the end. And then
they loved you, Elaine. That was the whole thing. They wanted to get rid of you because they knew that you were gonna that everybody loved you. It's not that they didn't like you. In the first episode, they were already like, we got to get rid of her because if she's in the end.
Really?
Yeah.
First step.
Well, here's the thing though, and I guess that's where I was talking about earlier about your moral compass guides you, and the decisions you make is based on how you feel in here, regardless of what it is. And for me, my decisions are always like, if I'm good with you, if we're friends, if I like you, if I care about you, that's it. I don't care how much money you put at the end. I'm going to ride with my people, and not everybody plays that way. And that's why, hence, I am a horrible Survivor player. So
you don't feel like you wouldn't cut an ally. You're saying even if you feel like it was the right. No,
I didn't. In the game that I played, I don't know about future games because I have to become. I think I have to become a little callous when it comes to certain things. If I get a chance to go back out, I need to draw a moral compass line somewhere in here, and decide on whether or not I'm going to cross it. And then
I don't think you do. I really don't think you do. I think you just have to be yourself.
To be able to cut friends is something it would be a hard decision for me.
You shouldn't have to do it. You shouldn't have to do it.
No, but I mean, if you got 5 friends and you're talking about final 3, like somebody's going to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you go like, so you went out at the point where, you still didn't have to make that decision. Like I said, I feel like if you get to the end of the game, it's very unusual, like I said, to not have at least one time where you do have to decide it's her or me, and it's going to be me.
Yeah, my problem was I made friends with everybody, so I never wanted to cut anybody. Like I cried all the time. Y'all didn't see it, but like when I blocked Jason's vote, spoiler alert. But when I done that, I literally cried for him when I got back to camp, because I felt so bad.
Why did you do it?
Because I didn't have a choice. It was either him or it was going to be me or Aaron. And it's like, I gotta shoot you before you shoot me. And it was self-preservation, so to speak. Yep. But it broke my heart. And I didn't even know him, but for 2 days, 3 days.
No, I had this issue in the circle on many, many occasions.
Yeah.
And I found a way of sort of living with it, but it's and also a lot of it was done through a discussion with another person.
Mm-hmm. But, see, that's the thing, is like when you make decisions and you make choices, you have to be able to live with them after the fact. And for me, this time around, the first time around, I couldn't do it. But next time around, I don't know where I'll be, like, personally, because I may be in a totally different mindset. And I may be like a total game bot mode or something. I don't know until I get out there and meet the people I'm with, but I might try to change it up a little bit, do something a little different. But in the end, I think I will always be me. I think I would always revert back to, like,
I do hope so.
Yeah. Just being myself, bro, and just rolling off my own emotions and how I feel about somebody. And it's like, I'll probably just ride with that, but you never know in the moment. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to leave it open just in case,
And I guess, I'm the, the evil one here, and this is why I'm friends with Fair Play, but I'm like, it's a game. And to me, it might get more interesting, like with returnee seasons, like when we get to All Stars or whatever. So when you're playing a game with people that you knew before, right, then I feel like then it could come. And I would still like to think that I would cut my friends, because I would be very open with them up front that, like, this is a game and it's got nothing to do with how I feel. But in terms of you just come into a newbie season, you've never met any of these people before. I really don't think that I would have such a hard time. I want to win $1 million.
Well, see, okay, for me, the way I am, it's like I try to connect with people on a real level, and I like Lauren, like I got to know Lauren, and I know she could use the money, and it's like I've always been the kind of person I can stand on my own 2 feet with nothing in my pockets. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get back up and I'm going to be okay.
Dust yourself off.
Yes, and I've always been the kind that I will give you the shirt off my back because you're cold, and I will figure out a way to make myself warm. I've just always been that person. So when I would talk with these individuals and get to know them, it's like, like I would love to see her win that money and just, live her best life. And I'm going to be okay. That's just, it's in my core. I don't know how not to do that. Like
I understand that. And it's,
that's hard. It's hard. Like, cause you always put yourself in the back of the line. And I always say, like, not everybody's built that way because not everybody can handle it, because it's a lonely place to be. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
I understand that. Of course, I'm also very much aware I'm terribly needy. So
right.
So we would get along splendidly.
I think we're best friends, Tim. I think we're best friends.
Let's talk about this episode. We've done it a little bit, but just going back.
Can I just say one?
What do you want to say?
One other thing?
Okay.
That I think in the other 2 series, by this time, I'd already made some decisions about who I thought was going to win.
Well, you did say something last week. What did you say? You said Ethan or Linda?
He's changed his mind. Who was it you said?
Ethan and Linda is what he said last week.
Did I say Linda?
You said Ethan.
No idea anymore. Oh, Ethan? No, I'm really not sure. And Ethan hardly figured in this episode. I just think there's a bit of him which doesn't really like any of the people.
That happens. Some seasons are like that. you know.
And I just think all these people are motivated by greed, and they're all sort of repulsive. At the moment, I'm very happy to be persuaded that this is about Edit and it's not about them. And I, you know, so if you've got someone lined up to talk to me, I hope by that stage I will have decided they're nice. But at the moment, I just think what I'm seeing is fairly unpleasant.
Yeah.
Well, we do already have somebody lined up for the finale.
And there's a limit to how much my
sympathy.
What?
I said we do have somebody lined up for the finale already, so I just have to hope that you like them by the end of the season. Look, I was very concerned last time with Tina because you really were not a big fan of Tina, but then by the end, you know, you guys were buddies.
Yeah. I hate for Tim to watch my season. I don't want him to watch season 39 because I love Tim, and I don't want to hear. Because it's, you know what I'm saying, Karen.
Oh, like, no, we're going to have a problem when we hit we're going to have problems way sooner. We're going to have problems when we hit Thailand. I'm not sure how we're going to explain Brian Heidick to Tim.
Yeah, I'd rather enjoy talking to Tim, and I hate for his, how he feels about me to change.
It would never change, Elaine. It would never change.
It's not what you always see on TV. It's not exactly.
I believe there's a big difference between what people say, what people do, and who they are. So you know, I'm sure I could see the best in almost anybody because
he did not do anything bad.
I want to look beyond what they do, but at the moment, you know, with the Edit, I'm not given very much that I like, and I'm given things which the Edit seems to think is laudable, is good, and it's not in my understanding. It's just appalling. The Edit moral compass.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to reiterate the fact that these are harsh conditions that their players are in, and that this thing is real. The threats of lions and this, that, and the other. I think that's what they were trying to reiterate.
The threat of lions was real in the Disney film, so it's as real here as it was there. I was more concerned about the cameramen and women.
Oh yeah, well, I think this is the only season that literally they had armed guards around. What's that called? The circle?
The perimeter.
The boma. They call it.
Boma.
Yeah, but they did. They had people like outside 24/7. Yeah, 24/7. With like and I think they had tranquilizer darts, and then I think they might have also had bullets if they, you know, if there was no alternative. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was.
So if one of the contestants really got out of control, there was an end.
I bet Coach would have enjoyed having that. I bet on 39. I can think he could have used that a few times.
Yeah, he probably would have enjoyed that too.
Stop touching people. Boom.
Well, Tim, just so you know, I had no idea of stuff going on. I just nod my head and agree in oblivion sometimes, and you'll see it.
Yes.
Yeah. In the future when you watch my season. But anyway, back to the show.
Right, let's go on.
Let me take a step back for last week, because again, I have no idea what I even said last week. What I learned last week is that I should not do shows at 6:30 in the morning. This is what happened, because we had Nick Iadanza also, and he's in Australia. So in terms of finding a time. So I'm not even sure to what extent we talked, you know, I made any sense last week.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
As opposed to today when I'm also not making much sense. But so last week we really saw with Samburu, right? We're thrown back in this, you know, old versus young thing. But last week it looked like Silas was going to play both sides, right? Whereas this week, and T-Bird was aware of that. Whereas by this week, and we don't really know why, but by this episode, we start and Silas is like, yeah, no, that's over. I'm back with the young people, which doesn't make much sense to me, because to me, that is the perfect kind of position you want to be in. You want to play both sides. And if somebody basically gives you an opportunity, where Frank basically comes to him and is like, yeah, I know that you're friends with the young people, but we want to bring you in. What do you think, Elaine?
Well, I think that he didn't like the work ethic that the older folks had. He enjoyed the more relaxed, laid back, and he gets along with the younger kids better. So I think in his mind, he was like, yo, I'm just going to roll with the youngins, you know?
He's mistaken, I'm afraid. The work ethic is there, whether you're young or old. And in fact, what team is he in? He's in Samburu. The Buran work ethic is perfectly as focused as the work ethic of the Frank and Teabag and so on.
Teabag.
So he's just, is he not called Teabag?
T-Bird. But I think
T-Bird.
but she will forever be known on NSFW as Teabag.
Oh Lord,
I'm writing this down.
Sorry, I like my prison break drama.
Dude, Johnny's gonna have a shirt made on that one. I see it in the future.
Teabag. Right?
That's
I'm so sorry.
hilarious.
Oh yeah, I forgot to plug this, but besides, we now have a free Johnny Fair Play t-shirt with his mugshot on so johnnyfairplay.com. That's JONNYNOH, and he will call you and thank you for your purchase.
Wait, is he still Johnny, locked up? Is he out?
No, he wasn't locked up at all. But he did get arrested. It's a family dispute. There's a family dispute. The allegation is that he stole a necklace from his grandmother who has dementia. That is not Johnny's version of events, and he has a lawyer, and he looks forward to being exonerated. But of course, he had to make a T-shirt because
Yeah.
When life gives you lemons, you might as well make a T-shirt.
Do give Johnny a hug from me. If he needs extra legal aid, he can get it from me as well. So these. I'm there backing you up, Karen.
Yeah. So these.
I can be your second. Now I know about the legal process in America. You have first chair and second chair, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah, I could be your second chair. There we are. It'd be very exciting.
Generally, that requires a law license, but we can make it acceptable. Tim knows everything. He probably knows more about law than I do. So
I can quote.
He can wing it. He can wing it.
I could wing it. Yeah. And I'd be so charming. The jury would be eating out of my hand. I bring them presents for Christmas.
But what do you think about these friendship necklaces, though, Elaine? Because again, I just feel like very deliberately saying, I am with these people, I am not with these people, right?
Yeah.
Is generally.
I think it just comes down to arrogance. They didn't care of the opinions of the older folks, so they were like, "Yo, we don't care what you say. We don't." It's just arrogance. It's young and cocky, is what it is,
Yeah.
I think it was a huge mistake.
Yeah, but I think this was just a little moment that makes very good TV, by the way, and I could see the production team egging these people on. Of course, it was their idea, but of course, I'm sure they were egged on. Ooh, and why don't you make sure these necklaces can't come off? Why don't you use the fire to burn the pieces together? Oh, that's good, and that's a bit daring. Oh, don't hurt me! Don't hurt me! Oh, I'm in the wild. There's a line about to grab my inside, but don't hurt me with this little bit of fire. Ah, wonderful, ironic filming. Great.
Yeah.
I don't think it was particularly arrogant. I think it was a moment of indolence, which was caught on camera and then edited to make it look as if these people were indifferent, arrogant, contemptuous of the rest of their tribe, which maybe they were. So it's a metaphor for what was actually going on.
I'm assuming there was some of that because Dr. Carl says, they're trying to get under our skin and it's working.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not sure really why it would get under his skin, but because look, maybe it wasn't as obvious to him as it is to us that this is what's going on, that these four are together.
Well, it's kind of like when they cook dinner or breakfast or whatever, and they eat it all before everyone comes back. They just doing things out of spite. You know what I mean? They're poking the bear.
And sleeping in till the morning, till everybody else, till the other grown-ups have got up.
Yeah. It's like the kids in the mom and dad. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. So the teenagers are being defiant and kind of spitting in the face of the parents, so to speak.
They're being bratish, but equally, parents have a sense of responsibility to bratish teenagers. We should indulge them a little bit. They're simply victims of the circadian rhythm and an out of control pineal gland. That's their problem. We should
big words.
It's the thing in the middle of your brain that controls how much light you get. It goes out of control when you're a baby. It's out of control when you're a teenager. It's clearly out of control when you're playing survival, and it's out of control when you get to old age. So most of your life, it's out of control. So you should be sympathetic. It's not their fault. It's the fault of biology.
What's it called again? I'm going to use that on the wife next time. I'm going to say it's not my fault.
It's called the pineal gland. It comes from the word for a pine cone.
No, honey, I can't do them dishes. Got this pineal
gland. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I got problems with my glands, and it's the one stuck in the middle of the brain. And Descartes, this philosopher, thought this was the point at which the soul joined the physical body, and this was the sort of interface. It was a Star Trek moment. And this was the point at which the two souls of the body, the animal soul and the celestial soul, join the physical body. And it's complete rubbish. But there's little sort of channels that lead from different parts of the brain into this pineal gland. And he thought, oh, this is a portal. This is a portal. Yeah. So you can imagine Mr. Spock saying, the portal. Ironic blessing accepted.
But just going back to Dr. Carl, I mean, so this kind of tickled me that, he's talking, so he's got a Porsche and a Mercedes, and he says, his response to Silas, is, like giving him a hard time, is like, work hard. And then he says, this is Gen X, and I'm glad that I'm not part of it, right? It's the Gen Xers, they're the ones who are lazy. Right. And of course, now fast forward, 30 seasons in the future, and we're going to have a season called Millennials versus Gen X. And the Gen Xers are the hardworking ones. Yeah. And now it's the Millennials, right, that don't have a work ethic. So I think this is how life is, that, the older folks always think that the next generation coming up is useless, and, they're going to destroy the world. And, and it's newsflash, it's not true.
Yeah. Well, and to go back to an earlier conversation, wasn't there an excellent Lucille Ball episode where she had a generation gap, and they found themselves on a stage, and the stage split? I remember this from my childhood.
This one I don't remember.
Wonderful. She was just such a bundle of energy.
Yeah, I love Lucille Ball.
And fire, except when she made the film Mame, which was a disaster, really. She shouldn't have done it. It should have been the wonderful Angela Lansbury should have done it. She did it on stage.
Oh, I love her. I love Angela.
Isn't she spectacular? And just going on and on and on. Don't you love her in Mary Poppins Returns? The best bit of Mary Poppins Returns.
Dude, I want her to be my grandma so bad. Like
she is, isn't she? I mean, she's practically American anyway.
Right?
Yeah, she is.
Lucille Ball, Angela, I love her, and Carol Burnett were people that
Carol Burnett.
Yes, that I absolutely adored growing up. I watched their shows religiously, and
I'm so pleased.
It's such fond memories, thinking back to those shows. Like whenever you was talking about The Factory, the first thing that popped in my head was Lucille Ball. You know what I mean? Like it brings back such fond memories.
The other thing is here is an example of comedy which is nice. Mm-hmm. It's just called caring, all-embracing comedy, and it's so difficult to do that. It requires a lot of work.
I watched Carol Burnett's show religiously growing up, and it doesn't matter what skit they done. It was just an absolute. I call it a hee-haw. You know what I mean? Like they were just rolling at everything, man. Like I would have loved to have been a part of that cast and be able to do some of those skits. And Tim Conway, they're all legends, and they do it better than anybody. So all that old school comedy, man, I love that stuff. And Murder, She Wrote was one of the best shows ever.
Murder, She Wrote.
I'm basically a detective because of Angela Lansbury. Like I can sniff it out. You know what I mean? Like I love it.
Right, Elaine. And this is something that, again, looking at this from a 2020 lens, right? You're going to make comedy, but there's not going to be any cursing, right? There's not going to be any meanness. There's not going to be any politics.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I think you tell most comedians today, and they're like, well, I can't do anything with that, but back then they didn't, they did a show every week, and it was funny as hell.
Yeah. It's because we've desensitized ourselves to the point where we have to have that extreme wow factor to get a reaction out of us. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think it's sad.
I don't see that we should stick politics in as something we don't do. Otherwise we're starting to sound like Freemasons. We don't do politics. We don't do religion. We do funny handshakes.
Yeah.
And people think we're linked to the Illuminati. This is not.
Yeah.
All we want is just to be kind. To do comedy which is kind, to do shows that are kind.
That's it.
That's all we want.
I don't understand how it's so difficult just to be good to someone for no reason other than just to do it. I don't know why that's not the norm,
If you've got to vote somebody out, let's have a twinkle in the eye so at least we know you don't hate them. That's all we need.
Yeah, it's well, on my season, when I played with Charisma was a lot to deal with in camp.
Really?
And because I'm super blue collar, work ethic strong, I believe in everybody pulling their weight. I don't want to carry anybody unless they need to be carried. If you're perfectly capable of carrying yourself, it infuriates me. So when I played with Charisma she's a house cat. You know what I mean? So she didn't do a whole lot when she was on the island, and it irked me. And once it got on my nerves, it seemed to aggravate me every day. And the more the days passed, seriously, now this is dead serious.
Did she not do anything?
No.
Yeah. It's funny though, because I've gotten to know Charisma after the season, and she's amazing. But a lot of people had a lot of problems with her on the island.
This is my point, though. So on the island, the more the days passed and the less she done, or the more wishy-washy. That was another one of my big pet peeves. Is I'm a person. I'll look you in the eye and I will tell you what it is. That's it. And if you look me in the eye and I feel like you're trying to get over on me, you're being shady. That pisses me off too. So there was a few things between me and Charisma that just started rubbing me wrong. And as the days went on, it was like, yo, I'm about to murder this chick, and I'm typically not like that. But
there's one person you can vote off immediately.
So I'm typically not like that, but I can see how in a situation you can let your emotions get the best of you and do things you typically wouldn't normal do, as far as your response. Usually if I don't agree with somebody or don't like somebody, I'm not gonna lash out. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be mean to them. I'm not whatever. But I do feel that there was times when I was salty towards her. Not necessarily it was something
but you're leading up to saying that you're now practically the best of friends.
No, so after the show, me and Charisma started talking, and I'll take it back. When we went to Ponderosa and Charisma came out of her shell and I seen who Charisma was, it was totally different than the person she was portraying on the island.
The show.
And I sat and I told her, I said, yo, Charisma, I said, why wasn't you out there? I don't get it. Because I was me 100 all the time.
Yeah.
And she became something totally different than what she is. You know what I'm saying? Listen, she's a lawyer, and I talked to her on the phone a lot, and she was all the time busting her ass at work. She works. She has a work ethic. She has these things that are instilled in her just from her culture alone. And it's yo, where were you? Where were you? And her response to that was she kind of just, she lost her footing and couldn't find her place. And
absolutely.
She was having a difficult time adjusting to that. Whereas me, I'm like a cat, you know what I mean? I just bounce and whatever. And I think in the moment, in normal life, I could see somebody that was struggling and it just hits me and I'm like, I'll be the one to be there. But out there, I was just, because it was a game, I tried to distance myself from her because of the situation and stuff.
Yeah.
And I regret that and a couple other things more than anything else on the show. I truly regret not being able to shove game aside, shove this aside, and recognize the fact that she was such a house cat, you know what I mean? And needed someone, and I wasn't that. And I was something totally different.
Again, that you're expecting a lot from yourself. Again, like you said, you're in a game. No, you're in a game. And so, like I said, even in real life, right? I have a feeling you're the person who would always go up and encourage the person who's been bullied or whatever. But when you're in a game and everybody else is united on the fact that they want this woman gone, right? Then it really is hard to put yourself out there. And again, like you said, it was hard also because you can see now that she was struggling, but back then, you know, she was like, look, like I said, I love Karishma now as a person, but on the show, she was whiny. Look, this is why I will never play Survivor, because if I don't eat or sleep, right, that's how I get. And then on top of it, you know, she realizes that, you know, nobody seems to like her. And then, like you said, and then it snowballs.
Well, there was numerous times where I actually had conversations with her where I was trying to find some common ground and trying to find some, you know, something or whatever. And I would invite her to go do whatever. I checked on her when she cut her hand, like, you know what I mean? Like, I made an effort, but it was a minimal effort. I just because of a human, whatever, it's like, yo, I made an effort. But at the same time, like, there was so many instances where I didn't feel like I was putting in and I didn't feel like she was. So because she wasn't putting in as well, I was like, well, why am I even trying? You know what I mean? So it made me pull back even more.
Right. I assume that she is very much in a shell at this point, like I said, because she's out there, she's suffering.
Yeah.
And then and again, your tribe in general seems to get along pretty well, and then you're the one person that nobody wants to play with.
Well, so, Karishma then you can tell you, like me and Karishma and Karishma and Vince, like we probably talked more because the three of us were on the outs. We probably talked more in the beginning than anybody else did. It was like, yo, I got you. But because I felt that disconnect for Karishma for whatever reason, and I felt like she was being wishy-washy, which it was warranted because little did I know she was back talking to Missy and Aaron saying she'll do whatever. But I just had something inside of me that was like, yo, something's off. Something's not right. And so because of that, I stepped back from it. But it all comes back to Africa because what I was saying is like when you're in that situation and you literally go through those emotions of not eating, not sleeping, this, that, and the other, and you find someone or some people that have common ground with you, you bond to it and you become closer. And whenever someone in your core points out other things about other people, you jump on it. You ride the wave, so to speak. And I think with the four young ones, I think that's kind of what they've done is like they felt this bond and this connection, and they felt this disconnect from the older generation for whatever reason. Whatever the case may be, they felt this disconnect and that adhered them to each other even more. You know what I mean? So it's like, but back to Karishma. Karishma's awesome. She came to my wedding. I love her and her husband. They're super cool people. We haven't talked since the wedding, other than a few times, but you know what I mean? She's not the crybaby bitch she was on TV. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's a lot cooler than that. And I'm so glad that after the fact that we connected and we reached out and talked and I'm super thankful for the fact that I got to meet so many different people from different backgrounds and cultures and stuff like that. And there was so much that I could take away from my season, even though it was kind of dark. I still learned a ton. And every time I have conversations like with you guys, like I just learned so much. So that's why I keep myself open to other people from different walks of life. Cause man, y'all can teach me things I never knew. And I'm appreciative of that kind of thing, you know? So it's like, yo, me and Karishma's cool now. We're friends. I regret that I didn't see the K before, you know what I mean? I regret that, but it is what it is. And you learn from your mistakes and you move forward and become better.
I think the television world is particularly the television world of reality TV is a very strange one. And whether you see it, whether you don't see it, everybody's controlled by production. And one of the things production wants is a single character. They don't want you to be a multifaceted character. They want you to be a sort of cardboard cutout of yourself, sort of the television version of that they think is you. And if you get off to the wrong footing, they will keep you on that footing. I mean, I spoke to somebody the other day who'd been on a program, and this person said to me, "Well," and this program was broadcast live. They said one of the production staff came into them. He said, "Oh, keep doing what you're doing. It's wonderful. Do you know you're trending? You're bigger than Bruce Willis or whoever it was. You know, you're trending on Twitter.
That's called gaslighting.
And this and just keep doing it." And this person did, and was out of the program very quickly, and then saw they were trending on Twitter. They were being hated.
Right.
And you know, and this, and they were horrified, and thinking, you know, this is the cruelness of reality TV, and you know, in this case, it was fairly obvious they were being they're being encouraged by an absolute shit. In some cases, it's much more subtle, but I think television needs people to be cardboard cutouts because you don't have the time in reality TV to give a sort of nuanced view of an individual.
Well, I don't necessarily think. I think for me, like what you see is what you got. You know what I mean? Like I.
But you're you are in control of yourself. You know who you are.
Yeah.
I think somebody who is not quite. And it's not just that you know who you are. You know who you are and who you will be in society. You know who you are when you're dealing with other people. Now, some people have a sort of misunderstood idea of who they are, and they have a different idea of who they are with other people. And television is so eager to exploit that.
I agree with that.
Because that makes drama, particularly somebody who is ignorant of who they are, and everybody sort of hates them. Everybody loves them.
That's the best kind of TV. Those of us that are what's it called? Not self-aware. And
but that makes perfect TV, but it is cruel.
Yeah, because I have a theory that, you know, if you just kind of in life, if you own your shit, you will be forgiven for a lot, right? But if you can't do that, right, then then they will rake you over the coals. Really kind of
you know why this
charisma. It's the same thing. Like she came out and she didn't make any excuses. She's like, yeah, this is who I was. This is what I did. I learned something about myself. And I feel like that's why people love her now. Whereas people who come out and they're still like, oh, you didn't see everything, you know, which is true.
Yeah.
But if you don't own your shit.
Yeah.
Yes, but one of the reasons this sort of thing makes such good telly, and one of the reasons I'm so anxious about it is because television, like theatre, battens, it feeds on vulnerability, and you are at your most vulnerable if you are doing something you are unaware of, and if you've got this steely persona, which you present to the world. Which particularly in your job, Karen, you do, because lawyers have to have this. You know, you have your public persona and then you have your private persona. That public persona is no good for television because because it reads as a job. It doesn't read as real, and television will get under that very quickly.
And like you said, the fact that you were able to be vulnerable, and especially for you, Elaine, that you were able to do that from the beginning, right? Because again, most people are not able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just I'm that lucky that where they're like, yo, we're just gonna show Elaine being Elaine and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if we go into this series, who is the most vulnerable person in this episode? It's actually Dr. Carl, who is exposed as being as being sort of victim, really, of this episode. He's the person I feel sorry for, in fact, in this episode. Quite interesting, but I don't think that's how he came across in the experience.
No, he's not self-aware when it comes to, you know, talking about his finances and how people perceive it. Because listen, perception is reality, and if people's like, "Yo, this dude's got a ton of money, he's this, that, and the other," and you're constantly talking about your assets, it's gonna rub people wrong. And I don't think in the moment he was thinking. He thought that people was going to see past that and think of work ethic and this, and he thought wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Now, I've met Dr. Carl, and I tried to reach out. I mean, so we chatted. I met him at Hearts of Reality a few years ago, and we hung out for a while. It was fun. And then, you know, we used to chat on Facebook, but now, like, he seems to have closed his account, and I called it, like, nobody seems to have his number, which is unfortunate because he's a fun dude. But but he is still very much, you know, whatever, 18 years later, he's like, yeah, this is me. He's not going to hide it. I don't think he feels that he made a mistake, you know, on Survivor. You know, they just didn't. You know,
part of that is those without envy those that have.
Right.
And
his answer is, you know, work hard. And, you know, and certainly
that's the thing. It's like you say that, okay, to me, if that guy wants to say that to me, I worked 12-hour days, 7 days a week, 365 days a year tell me what part of that life is not working hard, and I still wouldn't have the things that man have. Not
Yes,
because it's not working hard, you know.
Yeah, just
But
not everybody gets to go to
Elaine,
dental school and, you know, and then set up a practice
Yeah.
in the rich area of Florida, right? And then he works hard.
Yeah.
Yes, but you know, if you want to spend your life looking in other people's mouths, then maybe that's worth a Porsche or two.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything more grotesque than sticking my head into somebody else's mouth.
Yeah.
And pulling out rotten teeth.
But you know, when you make comments like that, it's what's the word? Condescending. Like you're being condescending, and that doesn't go over so well. Like, so I could see where they would be like, this guy talking about his stuff. It's kind of, you know what I mean? I could see where it would get frustrating and cause you to prejudge him. You know what I'm saying? For the things coming out of his mouth. So I think he put himself in that situation.
He was also set up. He was set up, wasn't he? He was put in a group where the producers knew he wouldn't get on.
Yeah.
You know, this is cruel. It's cruel telly.
No, but it is.
Well,
it's 4-4. Like I said, with Karishma, you could say like that was kind of cruel. She really felt like she was the only one out there. Carl's got his people.
What Tim's saying is like they're not gonna put 10 Elaines on an island all together on one tribe. Like that's just gonna be kumbaya TV, and ain't nobody gonna watch that.
I'd watch it. I'd watch it, and you could market it as one of those things to keep you calm.
Oh yeah. But when you place individuals from different walks of life with different moral compasses, with all these differences, and like if I say, yo, people from UK drive me nuts, I can't understand a word they saying. Do you not think they ain't gonna put Tim on my tribe? Yes, they are. Of course. You see what I mean? That's the way
we're going to get together, Elaine.
Yeah. So this is what they do. They have made an art out of placing certain people with certain people to get a reaction, to make good TV. It's actually it's a great formula that they have come up with. They've mastered it. These are the earlier seasons, so it's a little different. But as it grows, you see how much, you know, the contrast between then and now. But yeah, it's really an art form.
I mean, one of the ridiculous things they had for me on my show was they seemed to think that if I like cats or if I have cats, I'm anti-dog. I love dogs.
Oh yeah.
I love dogs in all forms. I mean, this morning I was actually discussing. I was just discussing sort of foxes and wolves because I just love the whole sort of that whole aspect of the animal kingdom and the pack mentality. But you could see from some of the questions which I was being given, and some of the sort of some of that sort of setting things up, that I was supposed to say, "Oh, I like cats and I don't like dogs." Complete rubbish. So obviously, I will have to. If I go into Survivor, I would say how much I dislike dogs or how much I like cats.
Yeah,
and then they will place us in the same tribe. Absolutely.
See, that's right. Yeah. That's why, like, trying to be something you're not or pretending to be something other than yourself. That's why it doesn't work out. Because
absolutely,
if they got you on A to B, and then you get out there and you try to run C to D, that ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? It's just so that's why I always
if you don't do what they what they expect you to do, then they're not going to use you.
Yeah, but that's why I always tell people when they try out, always just be yourself, because there's nothing 100%. More you can be. Just be yourself. Yeah.
Be yourself, and ideally, own yourself. So if you haven't had that experience where you have confronted yourself, then maybe reality TV or all TV is not for you, or performance is not for you. You have to confront yourself. You have to be comfortable with who you are.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. You got to be comfortable with who you are. And Jeff had said something to me in casting once, and I was like, I don't know, Jeff, but I fucking love me. You know what I mean? I love who I am. I am who I am. Period. Like,
yeah, I'm not sure I'd go so far as that with me. I always think I can be deeply improved.
We can all be improved, but at the core, you have to love yourself. It's like,
but at the core, I think I found a form of me which I which I can live with. And
It's a start.
that's
It's a
good
start.
enough. That's good enough for me, I think.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're a drag race fan, Elaine, but RuPaul's thing he ends every show with this is, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else?
Yeah. You know, I do cameos, and I always end mine with, remember, always treat people how you want to be treated, because kindness goes a long way. That's how I end mine.
What are candios?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we should tell Tim about this.
Well, I do these. It's Cameo, where you can go and request.
Oh, Cameo! I do that. I do that.
You? Okay.
Oh, you're on Cameo?
Yes, I do. I'm on Cameo, but not very many people seem to come through that. They seem to come through a thing called Memo.
I don't know what that one is.
And there's a new one called Thrills, which sounds more exciting than I think it actually is.
But you know, so at the end, I always say that at the end, because I'm a firm believer in, like, you really should treat people how you want to be treated until they give you a reason to do so otherwise. And and not everybody does that. It goes back to what we were saying earlier. It's like, yo, kindness is so simple, but so many people don't show it, or don't do it, or don't. Compassion, you know, it's just not in everyone's blood for some reason.
The big thing is understanding the difference between being kind and being nice. And being nice is saying what you think people want you to hear, or what people want to hear. Being kind is seeing beyond that and just wanting everybody to be better.
See, and listen, that's what I tell people when I meet them for the first time, and it's like, yo, I ask them about their life or things they're doing, and I'm like, yo, like, I'm so happy for you. Congrats on that, or whatever. And it's like a genuine sense of, dude, I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so, even if I don't freaking know you, I don't care. Wherever you're at, if you're listening out there in TV land, YouTube land, and you need a little pick me up, you holler at Old Biscuit. Because listen, I always feel good when other people are doing good and living their best lives. It just makes me feel good in here. So I love hearing it.
It's a great uplifter, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
It is. And then, you know, you being that way towards somebody else, it's contagious, man. It's like a smile. You ever hear that saying about a smile? You know, that's how I feel, bro. So
well, in my case, you can't see the smile. That's
true. That's that big whiskers that come out.
I feel like a chipmunk sometimes.
It really, I do think that those things are contagious. It's like when you go through the drive-through and you pay for the order behind you, like
I do that at toll booths sometimes. It really freaks people the hell out, but I love it, you know.
Yeah, and it's like, pass it on. Just pass it on. It's like, here, you need money to help pay for that. Here you go. And they'd be like, oh, no. I'd be like, listen, do it for somebody else another time. You know what I'm saying? Pass it forward. So I just try to be
you're
like
amazing.
that.
You're amazing, Elaine.
Well, I wish.
Let's go back to these people who are somewhat less amazing.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say.
Can you tell me who, at this stage in the show, who do you think I should be looking at? Because I'm finding it really hard to like these people.
Well, Elaine knows
Ethan
who wins, right? As do I. So we're not going to be able.
I'm not interested in who wins. I'm interested in who should I like.
You know, well, like's a strong word. I don't.
Really?
No, okay.
Am I going to be really frustrated in this season?
So Johnny Fairplay says this to me all the time. So I'm going to tell you to watch Big Tom, because he always compares me to Big Tom. He's like, you know, there hasn't been a character like Big Tom. And then I came around, and it's like, I'm the female version of Big Tom. You know what I mean? I'm a cut up, I'm a goofball, I'm country. You know what I mean? I say some funny shit sometimes.
Would you stick a feather in your ass?
Oh yeah, Big Tom.
Yeah, you would.
Oh, yes, that was the thing to say. That was a bit disturbing, wasn't it?
When
really?
I was on my season, I put Nora's bra on and pretended to be Nora. You know what I mean? And this is somebody who's literally a busted can of biscuits, acting like a supermodel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just impressed that you could like fasten it, because she's a little tiny thing.
Well, somebody else fastened it for me. I couldn't get that. But anyway, so Johnny would always say that I remind him of Big Tom, and he loves Big Tom. And so I want you to watch Big Tom. Big Tom's he's a goober.
Yeah, and Tom is also right. Tom is very much himself, right? Yeah. Very unapologetic about being himself.
Now, yeah, he's got a few things about him that little misogynistic time to time, you know.
Yeah, it was funny going back and watching this, because again, like, I've always loved Tom, and then the first couple of episodes of this, I was like, yeah, some of this is, looking through a 2020 lens, right?
Exactly. See, that's the thing. It's like, things that were acceptable and appropriate then are not obviously not acceptable and appropriate now, and which we should have never allowed them to be then is the
We
crazy
shouldn't have
thing.
done, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
we should have never allowed them to be then, but it became a part of the norm. It's like, being a woman and working in a factory, you get used to the cat calls or to the the sexual innuendos and different things like that. And it's kind of goes with how the times have changed. And now it's like nobody should ever be placed in a situation to where that's okay or whatever.
Mhm.
And it goes back to everything we've been talking about. It's like, we've desensitized ourselves, and we've
Well, I must say, going on social media and having a presence on Instagram, you do. I've never had anything nasty, but I have had some slightly ultra questions or suggestions, which and I think, my goodness, it is very close to cat calling, to cat whistling.
No, listen, I've had straight up like just hate on the internet.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From my season, you'll have to watch my season.
There was one thing that, like I said, I think
we talked about this
I
before.
know, but yeah,
but
there was some unpleasantness, and Elaine, but like I said, and she was really not even part of it. But yeah,
no, but
when
that's
the
the thing.
mob goes after you. That's what happens.
Yeah, that's the thing, is when you're perceived to be a certain way to the masses, and it goes back to the kind of the editing or whatever. When you're perceived to be a certain way, then perception is reality, and so they come at you and they say things that. And, with me being the person that I am, I responded to everybody. And I'm like, listen, I didn't know what you thought I know. I didn't. Ask so-and-so and such and such. They will tell you. You know what I mean? So I just try to talk to them on a personal level. But sometimes some people, you just can't change their mind about what they've seen or what they think is real. You just can't change their mind. So you just have to let it go.
I really don't think perception is reality. It's one reason I have a problem with some philosophical concepts. But it's quite extraordinary how you get these sort of tags, which become so overwhelmingly important and so automatically believed. Perception is just one view of reality, and there are other realities.
But in a game like this, perception does become reality.
Yeah,
well, perception is conditioned by production. Perception is production. That is what we should be saying, not perception is reality. Or we should add perception is reality TV.
It's reality in the moment. You know what I mean? It's reality in that moment is what it is.
Our life should go beyond the moment. Now, Sam Hayden is saying, do you think Big Tom would have become famous now with those comments if Africa came out in 2020?
Oh no, they would eat him up.
And I said yes, but not in a good way. Yeah, it would not.
Would he stop making these comments? No, because he's in the moment. I don't know what these comments are, but I do remember some earlier.
After the fact, it would be, I can't believe I said that. Well, because it's like, when you act a certain way and your parents come in and they bust your ass for it or they correct you or whatever, maybe you see a little error in your ways. You're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that or whatever. It's kind of like learning a lesson. I think that if this had aired in now, that after the fact, Tom would have been like, yo, maybe I shouldn't make those comments. Maybe I think it would have been a teaching moment for him. And I think he would have learned something. But being an old, I don't want to say this, but being an old dog, you can't really teach him new tricks. So I don't know if it would have changed him much.
Yeah.
But I do think that we would have got the after apology tour. I think we would have got one of those from Big Tom. But I love Big Tom. I think he's great.
Yeah, I hope that
I'm looking forward to meeting.
No problems, but I'm hoping we're going to get him because I know that him and Johnny are friends. So I've never spoken to him.
And we have the goat We have the goat link. I think goats probably are a fairly random link, and we probably wouldn't see very many goats in.
But as you watch these seasons, like you're going to come across people in the earlier seasons that if those seasons played now. I think the perception of their gameplay or who they are, Boston Rob, for example, I don't know if you remember, Karen, watching his first season and then the next two, I would say, he makes a lot of comments.
We'll see him. So that's the next season we're going to watch, Tim.
Okay.
And, we'll get to.
Yeah. But you see, in real life, we often say a lot of things we don't mean. because we're sort of egged on. We also say things which we then self-correct. But in reality TV, you know that they're looking for these moments, and they will pick on the first time you say it, and out it goes.
Yeah,
because that's what makes TV.
Well, see, the thing that I think that the masses needs to come together on is like, yo, people's gonna make mistakes. They're gonna mess up. They're gonna do things they shouldn't do.
Yeah, and it doesn't define them.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And so take our season for example. You know, there was things that happened, and I just feel like that if people would allow others to learn from their mistakes and grow and become better people, you know, that's what they should be allowing. And once you apologize,
like I said, like if some people come at you, let's say you said something, you know, like I said, if you just you apologize and you learn from it, then that should be enough.
Yeah, like me, I say, listen, I was ignorant. I'm ignorant. I'm ignorant on a lot of things, and I'm still growing and learning. Even though I'm 42 years old, I still like a child in some aspects. You know what I mean? I have
hope
to go
that
through
continues.
the baby steps. Yeah, so I think it continues until the day you die, honestly.
I hope so.
I think you can always, if you're open to it, you know, you got to be open to changing and becoming better.
I will tell you, Elaine, as you get older, there really are kind of two kinds of people, because I've seen it like with my friends. Some of my friends, I look at them and I'm like, these people are old, right? Just, you know, it's like, you know, they're not any older than I am. Like we went to school together, but it's all like, you know, like I said, kids this day and, you know, get off my lawn and very cynical. And like you said, and I'm just, you know, and with that kind of attitude, you're going to get old. You're going to act old because you're no longer open to new experiences.
Well, I don't mind getting the old bones and the gray, losing the hair, whatever comes with it. I don't care. You know what I mean? But I always want to stay young at heart. I always want to have that young mentality of it's a world of endless possibilities, and the love is like a damn rainbow. It's everywhere. You know what I mean? Like I just want to be like that forever, and I'd be blessed if I could. You know what I'm saying? The broken back, busted knees, hurting hip. I don't mind all that. It's just yo, when you allow yourself,
smile.
When you allow yourself to grow old in here. Or in here, man, I feel bad for those people that they're in that place, you know?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
What's extraordinary is when I was younger, I used to know so many of these old people. And now I realize I'm pretty well the same age that they were.
But you probably don't act nothing like it.
But same thing. That's the thing.
But
you are young at heart. Yeah, I also I don't feel my age. I mean, I know when people look at me, you know, they see an older person, but I don't feel that.
Yeah.
No. And
it comes from in here. I'm telling you, it comes from in here. You know what I mean? Like you can, and see, but I also think it comes down to just the choice. It's like you can either choose to dwell and become cynical and just, you know what I mean? You can choose to do that, or you can choose not to, you know? Like I choose not to focus on none of that, and I just want to see the positive.
I think there are things one learns as one gets older, and one of them is about self-discipline, and the whole idea of sort of continuing at a project which maybe not realizing as fast as you wanted. And I would, in my case, the thing which has helped me with that is animation, because that's sort of it's sort of writ large. You know, can you deal with boredom? Join this strange industry, and that's one. And then, can you deal with immediacy? Can you be immediate with everybody? Can you live in the moment? And I find, so having animals around which automatically live in the moment. Cats don't live in the past or the future; they live in the moment, as do dogs.
Yeah.
And as should I when I'm in television land or podcast land. You know, this is the point. Everything else from yesterday goes out of the window. Everything from tomorrow goes out of the window. We're now in the now.
Yeah.
And that's what makes interesting broadcast.
Dude, you know, we'd be a great human race if we all just loved like animals do.
Wouldn't it be wonderful?
Yes, it would be beautiful, because
no resentment, a little bit of memory about where your food is.
Yeah,
and where the loo is.
Everything else is forgotten, and they just love you like you should be loved, and it's like the best feeling ever. I wish we could treat each other like that. Yeah, I wish.
Tummy rubs, wonderful.
So, Elaine, but you're talking dogs. I mean, cats are.
No,
I'm talking cats
Listen,
too.
I love all kinds of animals. Like
I love my cat, but
Yeah,
I
I
would
used to
not
have a
say that
cat.
she is. But she can also kind of be a little bit of a bitch. If she's not
No.
getting her way.
Yes,
No,
well,
but but the
is
love
that in an
she
American
shows
sense
you,
or a British sense? Sorry.
No, but the love that she shows you is unconditionally when she shows you love. Like it's not like animals love unlike humans do. You know what I mean? It's just, to me, I think it's beautiful. I think how they approach things. Just dogs are great, but cats too. Like all animals, like you could see it in all kinds of animals.
And then you hear these ridiculous people saying animals don't have a soul. Of course they do.
Yeah,
they have soul. They have personality. I think even sort of quite minor animals like spiders possibly have personality. I've just not discovered it yet.
Nah, I don't know about no spiders now.
Yeah.
I know chickens with a personality, so I think that's going quite far down.
Much more complicated creatures than spiders.
Nah, but if we just treat each other how animals.
If I had more than 2 legs, I would be complicated.
Yo, what kind of animal would you be?
All my effort would go into into my motor skills.
Tim, what kind of animal would you be?
I'd probably be a dog or something, or a. I think it'd be quite nice to be a parrot or a tortoise.
Dude, I feel like you'd be like a flying squirrel or something.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because you're like everywhere sometimes. So it's like...
you see, I've just told you that my inner soul is quite sort of static and sort of calm. But my outer soul, yes, is all over the place, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
I could be a very playful hedgehog covered in fleas. That would be very exciting. I could then give you some of my fleas. Elaine.
Yeah.
Oh, I've lost my soundtrack. Bay is trying to come and join.
Oh,
come on.
Hello, Bay.
What we was talking about before with Big Tom and stuff, I think that he would be perceived a little different now than he would then. But I do think that after the fact, when everything's said and done, you see a side of him where, kind of like me, I'm redneck and a little ignorant, and there's a few things that come out after the fact where it's like there was some growth with Tom, which was pretty cool.
Absolutely. So now we're out. We have been talking about the episode a little bit, but we're only an hour and 45 minutes in, and we're getting to the reward challenge here.
Okay.
So they got to roll a boulder, and they can win 100 gallons of fresh water. And then
hated the boulder.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hated it. Hated the boulder. Fiberglass rubbish. I hated it. It just made me so angry. And while I was watching it, and it went on and on and on. That I think is where I got irritated about water aid, because I just thought it's sort of imitation boulder, imitation water.
Tim couldn't handle the fake. He couldn't handle the fake this episode.
If it is fiberglass, though, then I'll feel better, because a couple of times it really looked like that thing was going to roll over people.
Oh, I think it's fiberglass filled with stones. I think it's heavy. I've had exhibitions where I've exhibited statues made partly out of fiberglass, and they can get very heavy.
Yeah,
fiberglass is not.
You're a sculptor too,
unless you want to make a Porsche out of fiberglass.
They are made out of fiberglass, right? The body is fiberglass?
I think a lot of it is fiberglass, but fiberglass and metal. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it reiterated the fact though that like the conditions are rough because Big Tom was throwing up after the challenge was over. The heat is like a huge element, right. And I think you also saw a little bit like when Silas was pushing it and he was just shoving it as hard as he can go, screaming at the top of his lungs, acting like a young buck, and he pushed it out of control because he thought he was
right, and then they missed the gate, and that's how.
It was kind of a little bit a smack in the face of youngins run down, like the old bull and the young bull situation, where You
Yes.
know that story, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like that. It's kind of like that. It's like the young bull was running, and the older folk, they kind of paced themselves and
Yeah.
made good decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have a quote that is very much Ethan, so they get the water, it gets back to camp, and Ethan just looking and said, "This is so nice." And to me,
Yeah.
that's kind of Ethan in a nutshell. And like I said, I love Ethan. There will be a moment, in a future episode where, Ethan is Jewish and it comes up, it becomes not a big plot point, but it becomes a plot point. So of course I got to vote, root for the Jewish guy. And he's got, my kid used to have that same kind of hair. He's got the big Jew fro, and he's a professional athlete, and he seems to be a wonderful guy. And they get him in confessional, and and this is what they end up showing is him saying, "This is so nice," meaning that what else he said was probably even less relevant. Because I just brought it up because you said, last week you kind of had he might be your winner, and he could be the winner, but he's very nice, right?
Yeah.
It's a good description of Ethan, right?
But I think in places he's not come off so well. He wasn't in this episode very much, very briefly,
right?
Very briefly. Otherwise, I would have been all Ethaned up. But I would focus not so much on the boulders, but on the next bit with the with the oh god, I so detest the bloody totem thing and the idol, all that sort of stuff. This pandering to this piece of wood. Anyway. But the thing I found so distressing was it is Lindsay, isn't it? And Lindsay's collapse and the thought about broken bone or the kidney pain, and then the line. Barbie went down in Africa, which is just cruel.
Well, Linda, even more so, Linda. And I can kind of understand this, that, Lindsay could get on people's nerves. But Linda says, she likes to say how strong she is. She's not looking so strong right now.
Yeah.
I felt like that was even more cutting than what Frank said. But yeah, look, it's clear these two groups.
So was it who was it who went down? Who was it who collapsed? It was
Lindsay.
It was Lindsay.
Yes.
And it was Linda who said Barbie went down in Africa.
No, Frank, I think, said Barbie goes down. That. And Linda says, you weren't completely sure. It could have been Carl, but based on the voice, I'm pretty sure it was Frank. But this was, Linda looking in the camera and saying.
And then Frank says the thing about if you're excess baggage, get the hell out of here. Is that right?
Yeah. Like I said, these two groups of people do not like each other. And it's hard to have a tribe that's going to be successful. Like I said, they have been winning with the exception of this. So, they have been winning, but you have to figure that's going to stop because they're each other's throats, basically.
And who's the one who goes on about Mother Africa and all sorts of spiritual
Linda.
Everything is about.
That's Linda. Oh God, just take her out and shoot her. I just find that intolerable. This is the thing which irritated me in the first episode. I thought, what was it that got me? It's Linda sort of Mother Africa stuff. That's what who's the ghastly person who wrote those songs in Lion King?
Elton John.
Anyway, Elton John. That's what Elton John is doing. I mean, this is with the imagery all stolen from Disney, and then you got Linda saying "Mother Africa, Mother." We might just as well lay down our tools and sing Hakuna Matata.
Yeah,
I love that song.
Tim went off on this. Yeah, it's true.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. At least we'd probably be with Linda. We'd probably be favouring the stage show, which is significantly better than the film. But it's still got this sort of spiritual hokum in it, and and Linda is sort of thumbs that up.
It is a lot because again, I kind of naturally kind of root for the older women, but yeah, there were so many times, and again later in the episode also, I guess after they lost the immunity challenge, she says, the idol goddess will not live in a home with conflict. Right? That's why we lost, and I'm like, I understand why they don't like Linda.
And that's why they deserve to lose with that sort of nonsense coming out. Really,
yeah.
I just
And that's the last thing. I mean, they'll do it a few more times. We do get that great moment with Tom, with a feather in his butt. Yeah, that was fun. But and then poor Kim has to donate her paints, right, to dye the mosquito nets.
They got lucky with that though, because if she hadn't have brought acrylic paint with her,
that was clever. That
Yeah.
was clever, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, how else is she going to use that paint?
Yeah, so that was, they got super lucky because the colors what actually won that.
Right, and I think that might be why one of the reasons that kind of stopped with the luxury items, because people do use them in the game, like we had that with Colby, in the previous season.
Yeah, so they started kind of changing the rules with what you could and couldn't bring.
So they're still doing it. Did you bring a luxury item and we just never saw it?
Yeah, we didn't get them on the island. We actually got them at Ponderosa. Lauren handed them out to us at Ponderosa, and so you can see them on the Ponderosa videos where we actually get our stuff. But yeah, they didn't let us have them on the island. So I think with different seasons, sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right.
But it used to be one of those things. One of those things they got on the older seasons that, and it really, what you pick as a luxury item really can show certain things about your character, whatever. But yeah, they've certainly gotten away from it recently.
Well, I think, things that were big then that are smaller now is because now they place more emphasis on the strategic side of things.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right? They've got so many,
and the gameplay, whereas in the beginning it was more about the roughing it part.
I know, and that's what those who were old school Survivor fans, and I still love the new school, but they're different, and there are and sometimes these older seasons can kind of drag. But yeah, I guess anybody who got into Survivor, back in the old days, I think that, some of us are always going to kind of miss some of that kind of stuff where you really get to know these people as people. Because again, Elaine, you were the exception here, right? In your season, most people, we didn't really get to know them all that well.
Yeah, that's true. Right. I'm thankful for the edit that I got. I'm thankful for the airtime that I did or did not receive. You know what I mean? Like I'm thankful for all of it. There were some people that came off my season, they wasn't happy with how they were perceived. They had a problem with the edit, and I'm not one of those people. So I'm thankful that I got it the way I got it.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I'm very thankful for the edit I got. I think I got a very good edit. It doesn't stop me being very critical of the way these shows are produced.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people. There's so many people who are abused by the edit.
Yeah. Well, I think when you actually go on the show though, and you kind of get to peek behind the curtain at Oz, so to speak, you know what I mean? It gives you a little more insight as to how things actually work.
100%.
And it reiterates some of the things you already thought going into it. It's like, it brings stuff to light that you had never thought about. So it's kind of interesting.
Right.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting. But there is such a divorce between the reality and reality TV, and those of us who've seen The Wizard.
Yeah.
There are some aspects of that which I feel we shouldn't be keeping quiet about because it's dangerous,
and we're not. That's why we talk about it here.
Well, we don't talk about it very much, but it's about the potential for the abuse of power,
right?
And I have no problems at all with people getting a good edit or a bad edit, actually, because I think people will project. If people are foolish enough to project the wrong thing about themselves or have no self-awareness, then I'm afraid, in a way, that is their fault.
Yeah.
But when people are egged on to do something which is going to make them look bad, whether they know they're being egged on or not, when people are given a choice which will make them look bad, whether they know it's a choice or not, then I think these are very, very dangerous areas. I would. I would have
39. You gotta watch
I would
39.
have the same. I would have the same criticism of God in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
You grow a tree and tell everybody not to touch it, and make it the central tree. People are going to, and it's questionable whether or not that's.
You're set up for failure.
You're set up for failure.
You're set up for failure.
And that worries me. It makes a great story, but that's how you do a magic trick. You say, you start your show by saying, look, Elaine, I want you to think of any number, but don't think of the number 7. Now, what number are you thinking of?
Yeah.
And the only number that comes out is 7. I cannot think of anything else except for 7. There may be a bit of bluster in between those two sentences.
Yeah.
But I will have set you up, and and that's the thing. Now, if it forms the linchpin in one of the major religious texts, it forms the basis of so many stories.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it forms the basis of reality TV, but that doesn't necessarily make that fair or right. And then when you throw money at it, and these shows are a way for big production companies to rake in a ton of money.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Without actually paying very much out, because they don't pay much to the contestants, and the gullible audience is looking there thinking, "Oh my goodness, this person has just won $1 million." Well, yeah, but how much money have the production company made out of that process? They have made billions.
No, it's like when you get paid $100 and you give somebody $1 for their, you know what I mean? Like the drastic difference is.
But the perception
crazy.
Of the audience, is that person who has won has just cracked.
Yeah.
They're so lucky. Well, they've sold their soul for that. And
I do think that the earlier seasons were more. It was more people went for the adventure more so than the dollar amount. So I think.
But that's not Elaine, what they're saying. They're being encouraged to say, "Oh, we really want the bucks. We're going to do what we can to get it. We don't care who we hurt in the way." This is just encouraging nastiness. And why are they saying this? Because of the question that they were asked by production. What would you do in order to get the $1 million?
Yeah.
Are you interested in getting the $1 million? Now, give us a full answer, please.
No.
And
I agree with you. What I was saying is like in the very beginning, in the very beginning stages of Survivor season 1, up until we're on season 3 now, but you can see the change in it where people went for an adventure. They went to have a good time. The guy in the very first season, I know, but listen. So the guy from the very first season, he literally based his votes on the alphabet, was it?
Yeah.
And as it's morphed, as it's morphed over the years, it's become more so where it's like, I'm gonna kill. My grandma died for me to get this $1 million. You know what I mean? It's became that. But I think in the beginning when people went out to play, and they volunteered or they stood in line to go try out, I think that the genuine root at their core was for venture. And I think as the seasons have come to pass, I think the general root for everybody involved is not just money, but it's that fame and that the accolades of being on TV. It's became something totally different than what it started out.
Yes.
And I think you see it, in the kind of players that get put on now. I think you see that. And I think that's why part of the reason why I think I got such a good at it is because I was like a breath of fresh air to them. I was real. And it's like being a real Christmas tree in a world full of plastics. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think to them it was. I think to production it was a breath of fresh air. So it was like you can't have too many Elaine. That's what I was saying before. You can't have too many Elaines. You know what I mean? So they got to throw one in every now and again. But I don't know. I just think you see it morph as the years have passed. But not only with production and how they cast, but the people that are applying and their motives behind it and applying. When I wanted to try out 20 years ago, it was for the adventure. It was like, yo, that would be awesome. I would love to do that. And then flash forward 20 years later, it's still adventure for me. But I'm thinking more of like my family, and I want to provide for them.
Because now 20 years later, now you got kids, and kids might want to go to college, and you look at things differently.
It's crazy how like the time warp between the seasons then and now. It's like it's crazy, but still Listen, your cat's in the background. He's got
know.
something to say. He's got.
I know. He wants attention, and the other one has to go to the loo any minute. So I'm going to have
All right.
to go
So we're gonna. So let's just figure this out.
Real
So
quick.
we get to tribal council. Oh, and this is just one point I did want to make. So we're talking about and I think we kind of often kind of take the side of the younger people because Frank really is a little bit of a blowhard, and certainly Dr. Carl didn't do himself any favors. But Mario says, Mario Lanza, who we've had on before, we had him on for the first episode of this season. He said that back then the older people were the ones who were popular because they had a work ethic, right? Apparently this was not the fact that the younger people just wanted to make braces, fake forensic braces and lie around was not popular. So the fact that when Dr. Carl went home, people really kind of wrote off Samburu because, now it's going to be 4-3. It's going to be the young ones, running the tribe. They're just going to lie around all day. They look at, again, different lens, I guess, from 2001 versus 2020.
So if you were production at this point, you'll be thinking, what can I do to spice things up?
Mm-hmm.
What games can we play?
Funny you should say that.
Tim, are you psychic?
He really is.
You got that telepathic whatever's going on. What's it called? ESPN. That's what you got.
Yeah.
I have.
He's got ESPN. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, dude, I think how you break things down and you just use common sense and logic, and it's like
absolutely. But
I also try
and look at these things through the prism of production.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you think you would have had that perception of it if you hadn't have been on the circle?
No, but having been on one of these shows, I just and in a very short period of time on that show, I worked out what was going on.
Yeah.
So and the show shows me doing certain things on screen, but I was analyzing everything. I was analyzing who was actually filming me.
Yeah.
And I knew them.
Yeah.
And they were charmed.
Isn't that crazy though? How you can go on there and you're like, oh, okay, this is how it goes. This is how. Oh, all right. This is
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, you've seen The Wizard, right? And that kind of changes it.
We Elaine and I have both seen The Wizard, and all we have to do is think, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Absolutely, he's the person in control, and he's not very much in control, and that's the point. He is anxious and desperate. And he's thinking in a very about short-term fixes. And at this moment in the program, if I were the Wizard, I would be thinking of some very serious short-term fixes to sort out this program. Mm-hmm. Because what we've had is a decimation of one tribe,
mm-hmm.
And now we've started to lose the main characters. Because let's face it, the four younger guys on that tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Are interchangeable. They have no character.
Yeah. We got old Teabag over there.
Teabag. There we are. Yeah.
Oh,
with or without prosthetic arm.
That's hilarious. No, but you're right.
I'm so sorry.
You're right. They are interchangeable, and I think that we'll see next episode.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to that because I need something to get my teeth into because at the moment this has just been a series of episodes which I've increasingly disliked.
Yeah.
So give me something.
This vote is interesting. Also, I just want to talk about this a little bit because again, it's the first time they go to tribal council and they're already at a tie. Right? Yeah. That's how normally you only see ties much later in the season. But at this point, they are ready. They're willing to fight to the death for this.
I think after this, though, after this season, don't they change the rules on the tiebreaker?
I think that. Well, I'm not even sure that they knew. So again, I'm not sure if they were ever even expecting that there would ever be a tie on the first vote, because back then what they were doing, they break ties with previous votes.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't do that here because nobody had. So that's why they got out the Bush survival guide and started asking them trivia questions. And I did ask Mario. I don't think this ever happened again.
No, I think that's the evolution of the show, though. It's mm-hmm. like, in the first one, they reverted back to previous votes. And then, this one they ask questions and then you'll just see it.
It's still previous votes, Elaine. It's just that because this was the first tribal council, there were no previous votes to look at.
No. I'm just saying, as this season, the next season, the next season. That not so much this show, but I'm just saying that
I would love to know what the gap is between discovering that you got a tie in that first vote, and Jeff Probst leaning forward saying, "What we do in this situation?" I would love to know who's been speaking in his ear before he comes out with this very relaxed.
I mean, look, they do take a break. They go and they count the votes, and again, I have to assume that they also realized on Samburu, maybe even before Tribal Council started, that this was likely to happen. Right.
Are you guys surprised that the doctor actually lost because of like a semi-medical question?
Yeah, about putting a hot water on a tick will make it retract. I actually know the answer to that. I wouldn't have known water, but yeah, because like that's what you do with ticks. Like we used to burn, light a match, blow it out, and then just put that on the tick and it retract. Yes, you're right. So like Lindsay knew that, but even before that, what was funny was I think they both got it right initially, and then there were like 3 or 4 questions that they both got wrong.
Yeah, but you don't have ticks in your mouth, do you? He's a dentist, not an animal doctor.
No, I know, but you would think that somebody that has some kind of background in
his medical knowledge has got smaller and smaller until it's in your mouth.
It also just sounds like Dr. Carl. Well, neither of them, but I guess, in terms of like, did they either of them actually read the Bush Survival Guide? But again, you would think that, okay, so Lindsay, like I said, same thing. She's young, whatever. Maybe she doesn't want to sit down with the book. But you would think that Dr. Carl, again, he's the hard worker, right? You're supposed to prepare. I don't think he read that book.
No, I don't
Probably
think he
not.
did either. Yeah, I don't think he did it.
Not.
So that's interesting that's how it went down, though.
And they probably knew that, by the way.
Yep. And so Carl in his final words says, there were 4 people with a sense of responsibility. And same thing, like I said, it's this old person, like, everything's going to fall apart now, the old people are leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think he's articulating something production was worried about as well. So,
But like I said,
I think he's wrong, by the way.
Yeah,
I think he's wrong.
I think the kids are going to be just fine in real life. And I think here also, look, it would be interesting. Their theory is that if they didn't do it right, there would be no water, there would be no fire, there would not be food. I don't necessarily assume that that's true.
No, right? I don't think that's true, because it goes back to what I was telling you earlier about, if it was flight or fight, do or die, that deep down in your core, you would find the will to make it happen. Yeah. And I think it comes down to that. Sam
Heidner says, I would read the book. Well, that's very wise. Yeah. In the circle, I believe we were given a book with the rules. Mm-hmm. I wasn't, because the person who was looking after me the night before I went on leafed through the document and kept it to herself. And she read out what she thought was salient points. And then left me to my own devices. So I never had the rules.
But it probably served you better not knowing the rules, because you probably would have overanalyzed and over-critiqued. And
I wouldn't. My eyes would have glazed over halfway through. Anything with the air of authority, and I spurn it. I'm a spanner in the works. Did
you guys do a psych test to be on that show?
I believe there was one. Yeah, I had a psychiatrist talk to me, and we talked about his family, I think.
But did you do a legit psych? You didn't.
No, and I know almost everybody else did.
But what do they do with you, Elaine? Is it like a personality test? Like what kind of stuff?
Yeah, they give you psych tests and stuff to do, and you have to talk to a therapist and.
Yeah, we had to talk to a therapist, but and now it's sort of enshrined in sort of regulations, not quite law, but very clear guidelines, and it's just enshrining, it's just patting the production on the shoulder for the way it does casting.
Well, I think what it really boils down to is they want to know the inner depths of you, so they know how you respond in certain situations, so they know what can push your buttons.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
What doesn't push your buttons? Who to put you with? Who not to put you with? It gives them great insight into you, and I think I think they got it down to a science as far as making these TV shows.
Oh, I think they have, but I think when the psychiatrist says this person is unstable, production is rubbing its hands with glee. One of the psychiatrists I used in the UK was one of my students. So And we have met a few times since.
There have been people in Survivor and Big Brother who have been pulled, right? Like they were originally cast, and then in the run up to the actual show, there was enough of a red flag that they were pulled. Now, again, given the people who do end up on the show, obviously maybe they should do that a little bit more often. But they do have a system, and like I said, it's twofold, right? The first threefold, I would say. Number one, makes people feel good, makes you feel like these people are being taken care of. Number two, you are looking for people who are like truly dangerous, are going to mess up your production, right? And then number three, learn how to push everybody's buttons, right? Figure out exactly who to put together in the same tribe. With Elaine, I got to assume there must have been somebody that they assumed that you were going to clash with, and it just didn't happen because they fall in love with you.
Well, me, okay, one, I'm a blue collar. You know, I've done everything myself. I work all the time. I work like a man. And so a strong work ethic that Karishma lacked, I think they thought that would be a clash. And then, I can't stand men who feel like the alpha and that women are inferior. I hate that. And I think with Aaron, I think they thought because he is alpha and then I'm like this, whatever.
Did you get on well?
No.
Oh, right.
I know. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that he like nothing I say mattered. And I think it was because of here's big strong goddess Aaron saying whatever, and then here you got little old Elaine saying no, that's not right. I just think that it was kind of that, and then he's super athletic and super competitive and super aggressive whenever he's competing. And so I think his bark and his scream and his yell is a lot more intimidating than little old Yosemite Sam here jumping up and down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there was people placed on my tribe that they thought that I would super clash with, Aaron being majority, and then Missy as well. I think I just don't like for people to think they're better than me, or for men to feel like for men to feel like women can't do the same, or you know what I'm saying? I don't like that mean. I don't like the mean girl attitude. I you know what I'm saying? So I think they thought that there would be some huge problems there, but then they gave me Tom, who is just like me as far as work ethic is concerned. They gave me Vince, who me and him was both, outright gay, whatever. They give me Elizabeth, who was a total goober, and I don't know if you guys, a goober is goofball, yeah. So
how wonderful, a goober.
Yeah, so
I will be using this.
We would laugh, and just roll. So they gave me some people that I felt like cool with, but they gave me some people that I saw issues. But how I responded to that probably wasn't what they were expecting, I would say, because I'm a pretty much, I tell it like it is kind of person.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I kind of know when to pick and choose my battles.
Yeah, you're right. They probably wanted you to get into a fight with Karishma about her being lazy, and you weren't going to do that.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. When I was 20 years ago, if you'd have put me on the show, I would have cussed everybody on the damn tribe out. You know what I mean? I would have told them like it was, But 20 years later, you become wiser with age, and you learn a few things. And it's like, you don't have to fight every battle. As long as you win the war, that's all that matters. So it's
absolutely.
like you insert yourself when you have to. And in case in point, when they were all attacking me in the very first episode, with trying to vote me out, I just went directly up to them and I confronted them right out. And I was like, yo, let's talk about it, And I don't think people were expecting me to do that, but when I have a problem with somebody, that's how I deal with it. And in real life, it's just when I pick and choose that, it's like, I don't have to do that every time. I can sit back and bide my time and figure out a better moment. But yeah, I think that they had placed me with people that they thought I would have a bigger issue with than I actually did. Because I have learned over time that you can't just rip your shirt off and beat on your chest all the time. You know what I mean? You got to calm it down. You got to tone it down some, and that's a lot. You get that with age. So I fared pretty well. I think
you did too.
I'm pretty good with shucking and jiving. You know, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good with just rolling with punches. You know, that's my thing. Is like I don't care. I tell my wife all the time. She gets stressed out about a lot of things, and I just say it'll be all right. We'll figure it out. I don't know how. I don't know how it's gonna work out. I don't know what we're gonna do, but it's gonna work out because that's just how it's gonna be. You know.
I'm afraid, Elaine, when I've made a decision, that tends to be it.
Really?
Which is a bit worrying, but I am very cautious about making decisions.
Yeah.
And what was it now? The other day, I had to do an interview for Turkish television, and they wanted my opinion on Brexit. And so I started off by giving a little analysis of the banking system, which I don't like. And I know what the problem is, and I know what the issue is. So I thought, sum that one up, and then and then I thought, I'm going to push myself out there a bit, and I said, this will happen. And so 2 or 3 days later, it did, and I thought, oh, that's a relief. But it was partly a decision that I'd made, and I wasn't going to retreat from that. And I just think whether you want something, the problem is you've got to divorce your emotional position from your analytical position. And emotionally, I know exactly where I stand with Brexit and all this sort of stuff. But analytically, I can see exactly where it's going, and you just have to pull back. But having made a decision, I think it's very difficult to change it.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy. When it comes to people, I'm very happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting. I'm afraid Silas has disappointed me.
Yeah.
I think
I was disappointed because, again, last episode it really looked like, okay, this is somebody who's going to play the game hard and try to play both sides, which, again, I do feel like early in the game, that's kind of what you want to do. Like Johnny always says, if somebody whatever anybody asks you, he says the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be in an alliance? Yes. You want to be final two? Yes.
Yeah, but I think it goes beyond that. Silas was a nice person, and he's ceased to be that. He's become an opportunist and dull, actually. So to be an opportunist and interesting might be okay. To be an opportunist and dull as ditchwater, which is what he's elected to be, not interesting. It doesn't matter what pronouncements he makes.
It makes him a much less interesting character because now he's just one of this four.
Yeah.
Where again,
his disposable goods.
Yeah, there's the tall one, and there's the gay one, and
Yeah.
So they may have won this little battle against the older guys, but they have lost the war for themselves. Those four are interchangeable. It's like the human beings in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Can you name them? I can't. Do you care? No.
Yeah.
That's the point. And the only thing you remember at Scooby-Doo is the dog noises and the running. Otherwise, it's just dull.
Where he's like,
and then
one
they
ear
introduce,
goes up, one ear goes down.
Yeah, and then they introduce the puppy who is
Scrappy. See, that's
unmemorable. Scrappy. There we are.
That's who I mirror my life after is Scrappy Doo. That's
now Sam
Scrappy Doo.
Sam Higdon. Let me get his name right. What did Silas do after? I can't remember what Silas did.
Yeah,
after.
And then my response was, besides being rapey, right? We talked.
Right. I'm so sorry.
We heard about Silas's more recent.
I keep forgetting about Silas.
Wait, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. What was it?
Yeah, Silas has been accused of raping women in 3 or 4 different states. And he's also gotten into some fights and stuff like that.
But I do think I heard that. I do think I heard that.
It came out like a year ago, and then a couple of weeks ago there was more.
See, things come out years later. You're gonna see old busted can of biscuits on Playboy one day. It's gonna happen.
Elaine, nothing can come out about you which is not positive.
What do I have to send you
You
to make
project
that happen?
positivity.
No, hey, listen, I got some stories from my younger days. Boy, I was meaner than a striped snake. You know, I stole, I broke into cars.
No, it's stealing. Stealing is just an aberration on the point.
That's true.
From the issue of who sets up property rights.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I wasn't out here being mean to people, you know.
No.
I mean, I did get in a few fights in my day, but they deserved it. So it's like,
and what you're saying there is you got in a few fights and you won. There you are.
No, hey, listen, I got my ass beat a few times. That's for sure. But no, I'm just saying, like, I would never. I don't think anything like that would ever. I would never put myself in a situation to, you know, have it come back and bite me in the ass after being on reality TV.
I would be defending you to the hilt, Elaine.
Yeah,
don't worry.
I appreciate that.
All
well,
right.
I think we got it done in 2 hours and 20 minutes.
We need. I'm so sorry. We have lingered a little bit today. It's entirely my fault. I'm going to have to go and I'm going to have to take the cat to the loo.
You took us down the wrong path from from the
rabbit
jump.
hole.
This is what we do. But you know,
once we got down that dark path, there was no coming back. You know,
dark path of
like
Christmas
I said,
tree.
Elaine, if you want to talk about, you know, Survivor and nothing but Survivor for an hour, there's other shows for that.
Yeah, this is not the one.
This is not the one.
Oh dear.
So,
but do come and talk to us again. I'm sure there'll be.
We will. So let me just do my housekeeping for 1 second, and then I'll let you both go, and Tim can go empty his hat. So coming up on Reality NSFW. So right now we are covering the challenge with 2 shows a week. Now they are on hiatus this week, so there won't be. But we're only 3 episodes in, so you still have plenty of time. And this has been my first season of the challenge, and very different from Survivor and the other kind of stuff I watch, but. It's fun. It's intense. The challenges are insane. And like I said, normally we have 2 shows. So it airs on Wednesday nights on MTV. And then right after the episode, we are live with Lauren Pratt and Alex Trias. And then on Thursday night, we come back for like a reaction show with Johnny and Zach Hacker and Marie Rhoda, who has been on, I believe, 5 seasons of the challenge. And she's a lot of fun, and again, she knows kind of what it's like from the inside. So that's fun. And then besides that, for our patrons, we have 2 other shows a week. Well, some of us are rewatching, some of us are watching for the first time, Australian Survivor season 2, the 2017 season. And then we also have our Q&A, for the patrons where they can kind of ask us anything. So if any of this sounds like fun, and then we've also done other stuff. We did we called it Secret Rupert gift exchange. We do Zooms. I did a Zoom meeting for anybody who wanted to come on Christmas night, right? For anybody who, either was alone on Christmas, doesn't celebrate Christmas. We've had a few people who did have family around. I guess they still, maybe they wanted a break.
I should have come on. I should come to you then.
Oh, okay. Well, we can do that, Tim, the next time. I was thinking about maybe doing something for New Year's. So yeah, we will definitely bring you in. Yeah, because we just do that on Zoom. So that'd be fun. So like I said, please, consider us. Check us out if you go to ad-free NSFW. That will show you everything we're doing. Plus, like I said, the ad-free episodes of our shows. We've got a Facebook group. We have fun. So please consider checking this out. And then next week, like I said, we'll be back with 2021. That's right. So this is our last episode of 2020. Goodbye, good riddance, I guess, is kind of my reaction to that.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Yes. So we will see you back. So, Elaine, I'm sure we'll see you back next season. And, Tim, we will see you in 2021.
Tim, see you next year, buddy.
Yeah, see you next year on Reality NSFW Rewind. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.